shalom, my friends, shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I'm still coming down off the high of Purim. Oh, such joyful fun that we had at that point. So I'm still bubbling, and I'm delighted and thrilled and having a fun time here on this Shabbos morning, because we're going to be talking to another spiritual, religious person. And her name is, look, I'm getting someone's body. Her name is CHARLYNN Boddie, and she is a minister. She's also been a film critic. She's also been a model and a performer and a TV host and a features writer, all these things. She's even written a new book, and the book is called True Grid, Discovering God's Custom-Designed Blueprint for You. Oh, then she even has the book. Look at that. There you go. Oh, she's shaking that book. Yeah! Yeah! Shake it, baby. CHARLYNN neighborhood with us. Shalom, CHARLYNN.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi Sol.
Thank you so much. Shalom, CHARLYNN. I love this. I love it. So how are you doing? You're looking great. How has this year been for you, CHARLYNN?
It's been very exciting since I just moved back from the UK to my hometown state of Colorado.
Oh my God, where are you in Colorado? I love Colorado. Where are you at?
I'm in North Denver in a little suburb called Thornton.
Okay, good, yes, Thornton. I've heard of this. I've never been there, but I've heard of it. Now,
yeah.
What are you doing in England?
Well, I was life coaching and ministering and doing what you do. I was doing radio shows and television and commercials, and sometimes being a military chaplain to our U.S. troops at the NATO headquarters in Germany.
Well, all right, we got already we have so much stuff to unpack, because I tried being a Charlie chaplain to some of the Jewish people in the IDF, and I was close like a Buster Keaton because...
yeah, there you go.
No, but so you were a chaplain in the military to people in, would you say,
yes.
Station in Germany, did you say? Or...
Yes. For U.S. forces.
Did you have to do funerals and things, or just minister? What did you do?
Well, I would help soldiers if they were in trouble, doing a lot of marital counseling. You know how hard it is for military families to stay together with deployments all the time, and moms left at home to raise the kids. So I did a lot of counseling for the head chaplain, who was reporting to our lead general over all U.S. forces in Europe.
Oh my God! Well, so what advice do you give a couple that sees each other 3 weeks a year? It's like, this is a good thing. It's like,
yeah, right. Some people would say,
yeah.
Some people would say it's good, and others would say, oh my gosh, this is so hard. They'd have to try to reconnect every time they saw each other, and forget how hard it is for the kids. So I would say to them, find people on the bases that you trust with your children, and make those date nights absolutely important, whether you're IDF in Israel, because I've worked with some of those soldiers as well, because I'm a special ambassador to Israel. So whether I'm in Israel or Germany talking to U.S. forces or the IDF soldiers, I'm encouraging them to really make sure they have date nights.
Well, and I think we know what that's a euphemism for.
Yeah. You ought to hear what some of my friends have said in Israel about that. I've asked them what the best dates are. And one of the great friends of Oscar Schindler, you know what they said to me, Rabbi? Do you want to know what they said?
Of course I do.
I said to the managers, I said, hey, what was the best date you took your wife on? And these were the guys that were, very close to Oscar. They worked in the factory with him, and they met and fell in love, and they're featured in Steven Spielberg's movie. And I said, what was the best date you took Genya on? And her husband said, I said, where'd you take her? And he said, the bedroom. And I said, say no more.
So much information, and yet somehow not enough. But
yeah, there you go.
How did you wind up, with all due respect, if I was going to send a minister, a chaplain or something to Israel, I'd pick someone probably who looked like me, as opposed to someone who looks like and believes what you believe. How did you get there? Yeah.
Well, I went to a so-called ministers' conference in England, where I was based at the time, Rabbi. and a Jewish couple from that was part of the press corps actually in Jerusalem. They were invited to come to this gathering of ministers for Southern England, and they were mocked and scorned from the leader of the conference. And there they are sitting there with their tallits on, and they're in prayer, and all of a sudden they hear this mockery against the Jews. And I said to my assistant, my entire ministry team looked at me like, what is Char going to do? What is the Reverend going to do? And I said to my assistant, get the van, get it to the side door. We're getting them out of here. And I went over to the husband and I said, where are your wife's things? Because she was weeping and sobbing. And he said, I think they're in the office where all the ministers have kept their handbags that are women. And I said, can you get her things? And I said, meet us at the side door. We are getting you out of here. And we then prayed for that couple. We ministered to them and got them out of there. Well, I had no idea, Rabbi, but what I did to stand up for them, I was the only minister out of 400 ministers that stood up for them. I was the only minister that did that. And I had no idea that she would go back to people in the press corps and at the Knesset. And she would say, how do we get this minister over here? What can we do to give her an introduction to the Jewish world from where we sit right here in Jerusalem? And they said, oh, I don't know if we should have Christian ministers come. We don't know how that's going to work. Well, Yad Vashem was working on a program, and they got together with the leaders of the Knesset, and the foreign minister at the time was Danny Ayalon. And we got this program together to create ambassadors from around the world. And I was in the first graduating class from America.
But let me ask you, I still don't understand why they were being mocked. Who was it anti-Semites? Was it who was suddenly?
Well, it was. I really would say, Rabbi, it was just a false spirit. Here was this man that said, "Oh, we're going to come together, and we're friends of Israel." And then, as soon as he got up to the microphone at this conference, everything opposite came out of his mouth. And I said, "Wait a minute." That is a false spirit. We're going to have to deal with that. And I do not want my new Jewish friends under this. We are getting them out of here. And she calls it, the wife called it a rescue. And she went back and told all her Jewish friends about it. She said, what can we do to get her back here? And they said, wait a minute, you've got a former press secretary to the White House who's also a minister. She's American and she's Black and she's a friend of Israel. They said, we will do everything we can to get her here for the program. And of course, I went and spent a month in Israel. And I was there, Rabbi, when the Icelandic volcano blew up. Do you remember that in 2010?
All right.
Well, there was a volcano that blew up in Iceland, and it created an ash cloud that sat over Europe.
No wonder
and I was
Brooke sings that way. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and guess how many people were stranded, Rabbi? This is during my time, my first visit to Israel, and I'm there for the ambassadors program that Yad Vashem put together with the Knesset. And guess what happened? I wake up in the middle of the night, and God says, turn on the TV. I said, okay. I turn on Israeli news, and it is saying that 6 million people worldwide are stranded because of the ash cloud that has settled over Europe, and it won't move. They couldn't get it to move. So all this air traffic was stopped. And the Lord said, you're not going back to England anytime soon. You're stuck in Israel. I said, oy vey, what a great place to be. I can't think of a better place. It's where God lives. It's what the Bible or the Old Testament says. The Old Testament scriptures say that's right. The real Bible, right? It says that the Lord himself, Hashem, Jehovah, yes.
All right, yeah.
He lives in Israel. Yeah. This is it. He lives in Israel. So I felt wonderful to be stranded there. But the Lord said, no, it's bigger than that, Char. It's not about your travel connections. I'm giving you a word for the Jewish people. I said, oh my gosh. I said, Lord God, what would that be? He said, 6 million people were also stopped in their tracks at another time in history. And he said, how many of you are stopped now from traveling? I said, 6 million, Lord. He said, you've got to get this message out to all Jews, because there's a reason I'm allowing the ash cloud to sit over Europe, where so many of my chosen people were destroyed by something called Hitler. And he called it the final solution. He said, I say that that was rubbish. He destroyed 6 million lives. And I'm trying to give a prophetic message through allowing this act of nature to happen. And it so got to me. So I put out a word.
It's not really, I wouldn't necessarily say it's equal in revenge. Like 6 million Jews burned in ovens, gassed, killed, put in pits.
No.
6
Yes.
million people inconvenienced for a month and kind of not being able to go on an airplane.
No, I hear what you're saying on that, but it
Equivalent.
was a message from God, though, to really wake people up. And guess when it happened, Rabbi? I felt like it was totally the Lord speaking. It happened on the Shoah.
Well, all right, but point being, it hasn't really helped matters. I mean, have you been to Israel in the past like half a year? Have you been back or not yet?
I haven't been this year, but the last time I was there was what, 2019.
All right.
So right before COVID, because I was getting ready to move back home, and then I was in one of the hardest lockdowns in the world, which was the UK lockdown. It was 3 years, and if you were caught outside when they said you shouldn't be, you would get a fine of £15,000.
Oh my God.
And nobody in America was seeing all this.
That's terrible. That's like, wow. So how long was the lockdown like that, where you couldn't even go?
It was really 3 years. The airports were closed. I couldn't go home even if I wanted to. There was no, and they had a different police squad called the COVID police. And they had different uniforms, and the back of their jackets said COVID ambassadors, but I'm not sure if you would call them an ambassador.
But that couldn't have lasted 3 years with that level of.
Just about. I didn't get to come home until they chose to open those airports. So this, depending upon who you were and what kind of status you had, I suppose in government, maybe 2.5 to 2 years, 3/4, but it was the better part of 3 years. You could not go anywhere.
So it's a good thing you had a kind of a job that you could keep doing what you were doing, even though.
Yeah, on Zoom, a lot of things I did on Zoom.
A lot of places, I'm telling you.
Yeah. No, you were not allowed to go to churches. They open soccer pitches before they open the churches, Rabbi.
Well, soccer pitches are outdoors, so I kind of get.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, couldn't they have done outdoor church? Couldn't they have done like the?
I ended up being asked to do that. I did outdoor services, but they wouldn't let us go inside. They said, if you sing, then you're spreading germs. And I said, but you're singing in the soccer stadiums. You're sitting next to each other. It's no difference. I mean, you're outside, yes, but I mean, it was really interesting to see what they did. But the churches literally were the last place to open in the United Kingdom. So I could not speak in a church anywhere, but I could do Zoom. Many ministers asked me to do Zoom meetings. And of course, I was ministering to people, because being locked up that long, many people were suicidal. If you're a single person like me, you are not allowed to be with anybody else. Many people were committing suicide. And so people would call me. Even the doctors wanted to commit suicide, because we had the highest death rate in Europe, in the UK.
Oh, is that? I was wondering why England got, of all places, got so nuts. But that was
yeah.
So, wow. And at least, so finally the place opened up. You got the hell out, and you got to college.
Yeah.
Which is sort of England, anti-London. If you want great weather and sunshine, you don't go to London. You go to Colorado.
Yeah. We have what, 360 days of sun every year,
or a little
on
bit
average.
Yeah. So, but let me ask you. One of the reasons we also wanted to have you on the show was your history in terms of being a movie critic. So
yes,
how did that come about, and doing that on TV and on the radio and with your own sister, your own blood, if you will?
That's right. Well, I grew up with a mom who had a reporting contract at 15, and she went to school with Natalie Cole, and she was a good friend of Johnny Mathis, the singer. And so arts and entertainment was something I grew up with. She would ask us as children, whose voice is this on TV? And she quiz us, and we'd say, oh, Humphrey Bogart. And she said, good girls, that's great. And you were talking about Chaplin earlier. She would have us watch these films, that black and white, all the way into color. And so we grew up as these little black kids in a Jewish neighborhood that really knew entertainment. And she says that when we debuted on TV at age 5 and 3, she said God told her we were going to Hollywood. Well, my father thought, she was, out of her mind. He said, "What? Our girls, both of them, are going to Hollywood." She goes, "Yeah, yeah." And she used her kitchen money, Rabbi, to get us into drama lessons, private drama lessons. So my sister was an introvert, very shy. She started writing at about age 7. She's now an award-winning screenwriter today, working on selling her first screenplay in Hollywood, even as we speak. And I was the performer. I was the actor on stage, very extroverted and always out in front. So she and I started writing plays together as children that we would then go around town performing. And my mom thought, oh my goodness, not only do they love TV and they've done well on TV as little children, but what is going to happen to them as they get older? Well, we had this pretend like little soap opera called Carrie and Sherry that we created. And by the time we got to college, our university said, there's something about these Black sisters. Let's follow them around campus and do a whole series on them. And I said to my sister, you know what? Let's start putting together the demo for a film review show. So I ended up becoming a Fed and doing new stuff for the US government and working at the White House or whatever. And I thought, you're never going to hit that dream if you don't get out of, federal service and start working toward Hollywood. So I left the federal government and sat down with my sister, and we wrote out a plan that, True Grid really talks about the vision grid. What's the anatomy of a vision and dream that you have for your life? And we used it on ourselves. We coached ourselves through it. And during that time, Rabbi, I think I told you when I met you that I said another prayer. I said, Lord, I believe you called me to Hollywood. I love the business of show. And how do I get there, Lord? You know what? You want us there? And I really felt strongly that what my mom had heard was right. And the Lord said to me, you will get nothing done in Hollywood without a Jew on your team. And I just said, well, let me pray again. Let me just see. Did I really hear that? And the Lord said, again, you will get nothing done without a Jew on your team in Hollywood. You know that the Jewish people created Hollywood. They are the core of arts and entertainment the world over. They are my people. They are so ultra talented in everything you can think of: science, art, medicine, you name it. No other nation in the world has more Nobel Prizes than Israel. So I said, yes, Lord, I know that. But really, me, I'm not going to make it unless I have a Jew on the team. I said, Lord, that sounds racist. He said, it's okay, CHARLYNN, I'm a Jew. I said, oh, yes, that's right. I said, God is Jewish. I serve a Jewish God. And your God is my God, Rabbi. So I said, yes, Lord, that is right. That's right.
So where did
and
you
he
find
says,
a Jew? Yeah, how to find one? Where'd you get one?
That's right. Well, check this out. A lot of the states, half of the states in America, and I think 3 or 4 territories outside of America, have coalitions for arts lawyers. And so come on, arts lawyers. Yeah. So I went to Colorado Lawyers for the Arts, and I started looking around, and I said, if I wanted to have a good entertainment lawyer, where could I go? And I thought about Colorado Lawyers for the Arts. So they did a dog and pony show where you could bring a sack lunch, and each different lawyer would tell you what their sphere was and what they did. And one of those lawyers I met happened to be the lawyer for Liza Minnelli. And I just loved him. I just loved him. His name is Jeff Mackler, and he's an executive producer as well as a lawyer, but he's only dealt with A-listers. And I said, wow, God, I really need to pray here. And the Lord said, you're a television producer as well, Char. You need to do your research. A good producer does their research. So I heard his spiel, and the Lord began to talk to me and my sister about having this full service production company. We would not just do TV and film and theatrical works. We would do music as well as the need arose. And we needed a music attorney, but I also write books. So we needed a book attorney. We needed TV and film. We decided to put 2 lawyers together. And one of them was the Jewish lawyer for TV and film, but he only works with A-listers. So I had to convince him to meet with me at first. And he says, why would I want to come to Denver? I was just visiting. Why would I come to Denver? Why would I sign a deal with you? And he's telling me this from his West Hollywood office. And I said, well, you don't want to see your children? And he got quiet on the phone for a second. He goes, "What about my children?" And I said, "You don't want to see your daughters?" And he said, "How do you know my daughters are in Denver?" I said, "I've got spies. I do my work." And he said, "I'm coming to Denver, but you're buying my lunch." And I said, "Absolutely." And so he came to Denver, and by the end of lunch,
I'm sorry, but such a Jew. He's like, I will come, I'll meet with you. I gotta go there anyway. I gotta see my kids. But you're paying. The man probably makes $500 an hour, but you're buying me lunch. I love it.
come on. I mean, he's a businessman. This
it.
is it. It's business, right? So I knew that. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood.
Yeah.
I know how it goes. So I said, yes, I'm doing that. And by the end of lunch, Rabbi Sol, he was laughing his head off. He was reaching into his briefcase, putting a contract on the table. He said, "You got me. You haven't even gotten your show, taken off the ground yet in Hollywood, but you got me." And it was just a matter of months that demo got made. And by the way, Rabbi, our demo for television for Hollywood for our Real Sisters film review show was done for less than $500.
Wow, even Siskel and Ebert couldn't do that. So let me. When did this? How long ago was this?
This happened. The show aired it first in November of 2002, and Universal Pictures gave us our break with an actor you may have heard of, Oscar winner Kevin Kline.
Wait, how was he? What did he have to do with it?
He had just done a movie, and he he was the first person I got asked to interview. And Universal Pictures heard about this demo, and they said, "Well, can Char do TV? I don't know. She's the new kid on the block." And nobody knew me. And I had a brand new publicist that was giving me a shot, and everybody was sitting in the corner of the interview room. And Mr. Kline wanted to get home. He did not want to be there anymore, because when you sign up for a movie, you are signing on to do 36 hours at least of publicity for a movie. And he was thinking, I just let me go home to my wife. And understandably, I was the new kid on the block.
And
when you're new,
Kate, so
this is it.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're a new critic, guess what? You're at the bottom of the barrel. So you get the actors at the end of the day, not in the morning when they're fresh and everything's peachy keen and all that. So I was new kid on the block. They put me at the end of the day about 5 o'clock. He just wanted to get out of there. We're at the Four Seasons, Beverly Hills. And I was the only person, Rabbi, that knew it was his 50th birthday.
Oh, so he certainly wanted to get home. That day, he had to work.
Yes, that day, no one else in the junket press corps knew it was his birthday. No one told him happy birthday, Brittany. And I brought him a gift from our production studio. He got the Colorblind Productions mug. He also got the Colorblind Productions t-shirt. And he just melted in my hands. And he said, "Is that for me?" I said, "Yes, Mr. Kline, it is." And he said, "I'll open it later." And as soon as he sat in the director's chair with me and they said, "Tape is rolling, Char," I thought, oh my gosh, my first interview in Hollywood. He goes, "I'll open it now." He opened it up on camera, held it up for everyone. He goes, "Hey, Char, who owns this company?" I said, "I do." He says, "Wow." He goes, "Okay, I'm ready now. Let's go." And I said, "Yeah, it's such a treat to be with you on your birthday, Mr. Kline." I said, "Thank you for your time." I said, "I know this is a lot to be doing this on your birthday, and I appreciate it." And we got underway. And I think one of the last things I asked him was, how would he like to be remembered? Because in that particular moment, I just thought, boy, if you were going to leave the earth tomorrow, what would it be like? He goes, "Wow, that's an incredible question." And he was telling me what he'd like to be remembered as. He's a husband, he's a father. There's all these things that make his life rich. And he stayed for about an hour afterwards. He just wanted to talk to me. And Universal Pictures said, "What's her name? How do we spell it? What's the name of the show?" She's in. She's on the junket circuit. And only 500 correspondents in the world are allowed to interview for television at that level. My sister and me are the first Black sisters, the first sister act, if you will, to do this in Hollywood. And my publicist thought, "Oh my gosh, Char, you're in. You will be in LA or New York every weekend, and they're going to put you up in 5-star accommodation. You will be treated like a princess." And that started. And then, of course, my lawyer couldn't wait to come have lunch with me at the Four Seasons.
With him paying this time.
Oh yeah, he was just, he says, oh my gosh, honey, oh my gosh, you're in, Char, you are here. Oh my gosh. And so everyone, Rabbi, from Michael Caine to Robert Duvall, Bob Newhart, Ed Asner, who just recently passed. He was so precious to me. Do you know, anytime I was in New York, do you know Ed Asner could see me walking down the street and he would yell out, CHARLYNN, how you doing? He never forgot me.
I interviewed Ed Asner. He forgot me. I would run after him down the street. I say, Ed, we had such a great time. He said, can't wait. Who are you? I was dressed like this. And still.
Oh, Rabbi, that's just, maybe you caught him on a bad day.
Could be. No, I'm kidding. I did interview him. The other part was not true.
Yeah.
Where did your show air? Where did Real Sisters? Where were people watching this?
It aired on the LaCie Network, and of course, this is before YouTube. We didn't even have iPhones back then. There was no YouTube. There was no iPhones. We have the old tapes, which my sister is digitizing right now, because everything was beta, and all the little mini tapes that we used, and we'd have to FedEx them back from the hotel to get to the network for them to do the final edits on things. I mean, it's hard for kids to believe now, but there was no YouTube back then. And the show aired from 2002 to 2006. I had over 500 luminaries on my show, including the then head of the Directors Guild was on our show too.
Was it syndicated on TV, or where could
it was the LaCie? It was the LaCie Network as well as DirecTV. So it was Christian networks. So we had 312 million viewers worldwide.
Oh my God.
Our first fan mail came from London, Rabbi.
Well, you come from London too, so that's not so crazy.
Yeah, well, and I'm an American, but I didn't think people were going to be watching our show. We were so unknown. It's not like I was Byron Allen or somebody. I was like, even Byron Allen said when I got to LA, he said, girl, how'd you get here? He goes, you don't even live in LA. He goes, you're living in Denver and doing this every weekend. And I said, well, yeah, I love the mountains, and you don't have to live in LA to know TV and film, So it was just, we were kind of one of those anomalies. People could not believe what was going on, to the point, Rabbi, that guess what? The junket circuit started coming to Denver. It wasn't just LA and New York all the time. Because of Real Sisters and this sister act in Denver, we had the largest studio in the state. People were flying in. Will Smith came here. All these big names started coming, and directors started saying, who are those Black sisters? Where do they live? Let's go to their house. And people started asking us, hey, can I bring my horse? Is there a place, Char, where I could put my horse? I go, yeah, we have a ranch that loves film people. You can put your horse there. It was crazy what was happening, because even the publicist said, we've never done junkets in Denver with the stars, and they started coming to Denver for the press junkets.
So who was the best interview that you ever, besides me, who was the best?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like of all the, obviously Kevin Kline is up there, but who else of all these A or B list people was like,
I'm trying to think who was probably my favorite. Gosh, it's a hard one to say. I had Robert Duvall twice on the show, and they would say to him, sir, we're going to close the set now. It's time for lunch. And he would say, y'all go on now. I'm going to talk to this young lady about God. And I wasn't wearing anything spiritual or anything, but so many people, Rabbi, in the industry would ask me to pray for them in the green room or on set. I would have to say, having the entire cast of Lord of the Rings, the entire cast on my show, was mind-blowing. Everyone from Gandalf to all the hobbits. And let me tell you, I mean, having hobbits tease you because of your last name being Boddie is an interesting thing. they were just like, is that real? I mean, and so, Merry and Pippin, who were the little hobbits that were the friends of Frodo and Sam Gamgee, they're running around all day. Are you sure you don't have any other little bodies running around, Char? And I said, no, guys, I don't have children. I'm not married. Are you sure? Are you sure you don't have to be married to have little bodies running around? And I thought, oh my gosh, can we get on with the interview? Look at these hobbits. And everybody on set was laughing. They said, Char, you got to change your name. They said they're going to razz you about it throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, you
3 days of interviews, Rabbi. 3 days it took to do the cast of Lord of the Rings.
God Solomon said, "Is like I am somebody."
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
and done it right there. And,
That's right. That's right. And I just kind of rolled with the punches. But that was an exciting time because that year I think they were up for at least 11 Oscars. Oh, wow. They just took the Oscars that year, and Peter Jackson, of course, created all the imagery that they now use all the time. He invented it himself. He said, we didn't have this for Lord of the Rings, and I invented it. And where we have, Lucasfilms has Industrial Light and Magic that is on almost every movie that needs special effects. Peter Jackson also has his Weta shop, WETA, that created all the imagery, the CGA, CGI, all the things that we now use that is computer generated imagery. So many things came out of that film. And that was something I asked God as a little girl. God, when Lord of the Rings comes to Hollywood, can I be a part of it? It was just mind blowing to sit with all of them and, just see what it took to put together a trilogy like that and have thousands of actors live together, Rabbi, for 3 years in New Zealand.
I don't know which is the worst part, living together in New Zealand. No, I can't.
I was like, wow, Peter, how do you pull that off? And he says it was mind blowing. You know what he said to me, Rabbi? He literally said this to me. I said, how do you pull off a feat like that and make it this perfect? It's flawless. Look how many Oscar nominations you have. He says, I don't know about you, mate. I don't know where your faith level is. He said, but it was the unseen hand of God that helped me.
All right.
Now, we know that Tolkien, who created Lord of the Rings, was a solid believer in God. And he is instrumental in helping the number one atheist in the last 100 years, who was C.S. Lewis at the time. He was instrumental in leading C.S. Lewis into a belief in God and in the writers group out of Oxford. And so when he said that to me, I said, really? Really, Peter, you believe that? He said, no doubt, mate. He says, no doubt. He said, there's no way you can get thousands of actors like at this level to live and work together peaceably and love each other for 3 years with no problems.
Well, God and a lot of weed. I think that could.
Oh my gosh.
Teasing. We're talking, by the way, with CHARLYNN Boddie. Oh yes, she is. She's with us in the Daybreak for a couple more minutes, but again, we do want to push your book, and your book is called True Grid: Discovering God's Custom-Designed Blueprint for You. Hold that thing up again. You had it right with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna show that to you. So here's True Grid.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it's got a vision grid that helps you find out the anatomy of the vision you have for you. But if your listeners are interested in finding about my adventures in Israel during my ambassadors program, this is my latest book, and it's called No Appointments Necessary. No Appointments Necessary has an entire chapter on my escapades in Israel and my wonderful adventures with all the lovely people there. And my other rabbi friend in Florida, who I dearly love. And I tell you what, there's nothing like being with Jewish people.
Yes.
Nothing like.
Give us a great anecdote, a funny one, from the No Appointments Necessary book. About Jews, about Israel.
Okay, let's tell you about that. So I go on a sabbatical. And you cannot be a minister and not go on a sabbatical. Even the root of that really comes from Shabbat, which is part of Shabbat is about resting. So the Lord God says to me, you have to go to Miami for a sabbatical. This is in 2010. So many things Jewish in my life happened in 2010. And so, or before that. So right before that is when I landed in Miami. And guess what? It is during the Feast of Hanukkah. The Festival of Lights, the Feast of Dedication, all of that. It's lovely. And I arrived on the second day of Hanukkah, and my host said, Char, we're tired of the sun and sand. We're going to go to our ski house. So they left, and gave me their beach house in Miami for 30 days. And they were gone less than an hour and the doorbell rings. I thought, oh, the couple that loaned me the house, they forgot something. So I went to open the door. On the doorstep were two rabbis, not one, but two. And I said, oh my goodness. And I just the reverence you have for your men of God. And I said, yes, may I help you? And they said, do you own this house? I said, no, sir, I do not. They said, well, what are you doing here? I said, I am a minister on sabbatical. And then the first rabbi says, oh, this is an act of God. This is an act of God. She's a minister. And I said, how can I help you? He says, I am Rabbi Shalom. And this is another rabbi friend of mine. And we had a vision in the synagogue this week about this house. And I said, oh my goodness, the hair stood up on the back of my neck. And I said, please come in, rabbis. So they came in off the porch of this grand mansion on the beach. And they came into the house and they said, we have a few questions for you. We're trying to understand why God gave us a vision about this house. I said, have you ever been to this house? He says, no. And the address is 77 Ocean Boulevard. And I said, wow, that's amazing. And he opens his black coat and he puts out on the table a dreidel and he spins it for me. He says, what is that? I'm testing you now. You say you know my God. You say you're a minister. What is that? I said, I believe that's a dreidel, Rabbi. He says,
it's not even in the
very
Bible.
good.
What kind of, you know what? They didn't have any kind of vision. Honestly, I hate to tell you this. What happened was someone in the said, you know what? There's a Schwarzer moving into the neighborhood. You better check this out. Make sure.
Yeah. Oh, but it was wild. This is the funny thing that happens, though. I knew everything he was taking out of the coat. He was showing it to me to test where I was at, and with my Jewish knowledge. And he says, so you're sure you know my God? I said, I am very sure I know your God. I was smiling at him. And the other rabbi is French. They're both French. They were escaping persecution in France because it's very high there against Jewish people. And so they had come to Miami and had a synagogue there. And he brought this other elderly rabbi with him to, I think, really check this house out. Like, what's going on at this house? Why would God give us this address? We've never been here. And he was checking me out. And when I said I was on sabbatical, he loved that. And then he said, okay, what's this? I said, that's a Hanukkah. That's the Hanukkah menorah. And he goes, wow, okay. He goes, but you're sure you know God? I said, I do. And he said, why do you think you know him? I said, well, he saved my life 5 times. And the rabbi looks at me and he goes, he saved my life 10. He's like, I'm not going to be outdone by this girl. I said, of course,
That's
Rabbi.
so Jewish too. And then he made you pay for lunch. No,
oh yeah, come on. And he goes, here's my card. I said, and what am I to do with your card and your number, Rabbi? And I'm just deferring to him the whole time. I said, what would you like me to do, Rabbi? And he said, you must call me CHARLYNN before the end of Hanukkah. And I said, yes, sir, I will call you before the end of Hanukkah. And he said, be sure that you do. And he left. And I just said to myself, I said, that is an experience. But it began a 12-year friendship, Rabbi. It began a 12-year friendship. And he wrote me this week. So I know that means it's time for our annual chat about what's happening in his neighborhood in Miami, what's happening at the synagogue, and how we can pray together, of course, for the peace in Jerusalem and all of the Israeli nation, its people. How can we pray for wisdom for the leaders, especially in this time since October 7? We want to see all those hostages home with their families, all of them.
Yes, even the dead ones, all of them home.
Everything, yes, every one of them, and that is something that is on my heart every day. I'm checking in with other rabbis in the land over there, but also I know there's a reason why my friend Rabbi Shalom would call now and say, oh, I haven't talked to CHARLYNN. We haven't prayed yet this year. And boy, oh boy, is it time to pray together.
To Passover. So, this
yes.
year also. So that's,
yes. Yeah, because we're right in between. We had Purim recently, right?
Oh,
and now we're coming into Pesach. It's time for that.
For a shiksa, you're such a Jewess. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love it. And before we let you go, CHARLYNN, the one that you did bring it up, I forgot to mention. Do, will you still go in a car?
Will I still go in a car?
Because your bio makes it sound like you've had what, 5 car accidents? Or
Oh boy, yeah. I had 3 car accidents back to back in '96, none of which I caused.
but you were
And the
driving. You were
last
in the
one was
you
near
were.
fatal. Yeah, I was driving and people hit me. I mean, just it was amazing how many hits I had that I did. I've never hit anyone in my life. My driving record is lily white, right?
Yeah.
But that last one was near fatal. They had to cut me out of the car. I got hit head on by a drunk driver, and another car T-boned me, and my body was in between the 2 cars. The other car ran off, so that was hit and run. Same night, same instance. The other person got handcuffed and taken to jail because he was drunk. But the 6 years that ensued after that, 6 years of rehab, 6 years of tons of internal bleeding, 6 years of dealing with a brain injury from that because my neck got snapped 3 different times in 10 months. And then all 10 digits were pulled back. So there was all this nerve damage. So Western medicine did not do a thing with that. And I ended up going to the #1 naturopath in the world who had offices in Hollywood as well as Denver.
There you go. So, but first of all, mazel tov. That's why I asked why you
Yes. Yeah, I'm
in a
fine.
car anymore. Take a hovercraft or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Cars and you are not mixed.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I still drive now, but yeah, I've gone through some stuff physically,
Yeah.
and I'm fine, Rabbi. I say thank God for that, and just very happy about all that. And in case your audience is wondering, I've been to Israel 3 times so far. I have done Israeli television. I've promoted our ambassadors program, wanting to see other nations come and be a part of it. You can hear all you want on news, but you need to go to the land itself, see what Israel is about, see what the people are like, see the untold stories of Israel that you may not hear on the news unless you go to the land itself.
Oh, 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 what can I say? You're saying all the right things in all the right ways. And you have just, as you, such a spirit about you, such an neshama
Oh,
about you. So, yes, we believe on some level different things, but I think we believe at the core a lot of the
yes.
same things, which is good.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, Rabbi.
which is,
I love your people. I love your nation. I'm a Jewish food junkie. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
what is
You
your
know what I'm
favorite
getting?
Jewish food? Which I'm testing you now. I'm opening my
Oh,
coat.
oh my gosh.
What do I pull out?
Um, I'd have to say Hamantashen.
Oh, yes. Wait, which kind?
Um, my mother loves apricot, but I like all the flavors. I like all the flavors of
Apricot,
Hamantashen.
apricot, no. Prune
You know,
or
what's your favorite, Rabbi?
raspberry? Oh, raspberry.
Raspberry. Oh my gosh, see, I like raspberry and cherry.
Cherry. I get cherry, but raspberry. Oh, raspberry.
Raspberry. Oh my gosh, it's so good. My mom was saying, "When are you going to make some for me?" I said, "But mom, it's not pouring. We have to get ready for Passover." She says, well, I still like some hamantashen. So I promised her I'd make her some, in spite of the holiday not being here exactly at this moment. But yes,
Yeah, no, you can have hamantash all year. It doesn't. It's not.
I know I love it. I think it's delicious.
Of course, it's delicious. It's freaking
It's
awesome.
so
It's hamantash. They
yeah,
use
I know, but
joy
I
in
like
the mouth.
everything Jewish though. All the Jewish food I love, all of it. And of course, when I'm in Hollywood, I'm at Frank's Famous Deli where all the movie deals take place. I am having, lox and bagels with all the Jewish producers who call me their cousin from Hollywood East. They call Denver Hollywood East just because my sister and me are here. But I'm with all the Jewish kids that play baseball in the Beverly Hills Little League. I am totally hanging out with my Jewish family members in Beverly Hills. That is where CHARLYNN is when she's done, critiquing films and things like that. So I just, all of that. And here we have famous Jewish restaurants in Denver that are on the Food Network.
As well, they should be.
They should be. I mean,
there shouldn't be any other restaurants on the Food Network. They should be kosher.
No.
Most of them in Denver. Absolutely. I'm completely.
Come on. I just love it. I love Jewish food and black and white cookies. Yes. And matzo ball soup and And oh my gosh, pastrami and rye, and you got to check out everybody's Reubens. My sister's having the Reuben. I'm having pastrami on rye with the mustard and all the yummy potato salad and all that. And then I love making potato latkes. And I mean, I am a Jewish food junkie, okay? And my granddad, you got to let your listeners know this. My grandfather was a famous New York City kosher chef.
When did he, for which, where?
So he was like during the 50s and 60s, he was cooking for bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs to the tune of 2,000 to 3,000 Jewish people at a time. He had a staff of 40. And the first time I heard the word kosher was going to his fancy restaurant in Long Island. And he was telling me I was touching the meat slicer in the kosher kitchen and I saw Hebrew for the first time. And he says, no, 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 darling, you mustn't be in granddaddy's kosher kitchen. And I took my hands off the meat slicer. I said, what is this, granddaddy? He said, that is Hebrew and you cannot be here. I said, but why? He said, because the rabbis have blessed everything here and we cannot have Gentile hands in here. He said, you can play in the Gentile kitchen. Well, I love food. I love preparing it. Used to have a catering company. So he said, you can go in this kitchen, but you can't be in this one. Wait. And my mom said, I'll explain it to you later, she said to me.
But he's a Gentile. Why could he be there? Did the rabbi bless him?
Boy, you know what? They blessed him for that. And they loved his food. And you'd probably have to talk to the rabbis about what kind of agreement they had, because all those hotels that were owned by Jewish people, they would not have anyone but my grandfather. And I got to meet some of the Jewish hotel owners that said, your granddad, it's his food. We just love it. And man, many, many decades he did that. And they actually, the Jewish people of New York, they built the house that my grandmother and grandfather had in Miami. That was the first house, one of the first houses built in Hollywood, Florida. They built it, and it was a gift from them to my grandparents.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God! Oh,
yeah.
Such nachas, such joy in all these stories and all these things. If you want to get nachas and joy, you're going to want to get the two books by our guest, CHARLYNN Boddie, True Grid, as well as No Appointments Necessary, which you can get on Amazon and all the usual ways.
Yeah, Kindle. And if you don't want to read it yourself, I'll read it to you on Audible.
Oh, even on Audible, look at that. You have a website, by the way, where people can...
Yes, it's just my first name, just CHARLYNN.com, just CHARLYNNE.com.
CHARLYNN.com. Well, it has been, as you've seen, an absolute delight and a joy talking with CHARLYNN, even without the .com. Please get her books. And CHARLYNN, I just wish you health. I wish you safe driving. My God.
Oh, thank you. I need it.
More trips to England and especially to Israel. If you go back to Israel,
absolutely,
back on the show and tell us what is there and what's going on and what you've seen. And because
I will, Rabbi, I'd love to come back and share more fun Jewish stories with your listeners. And when I go back to the Holy Land, because it is indeed holy, it is where God lives. It is where He lives in that beautiful mountain called Zion. I would love to come back and talk to your listeners about what I see on the ground, what I hear. And if they want to hear a little bit about my travels there, remember it's in the book, No Appointments Necessary. Please get it. There's an entire chapter on Israel.
Oh boy. CHARLYNN.com, CHARLYNN herself. CHARLYNN, shalom, and thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure, Rabbi. Such an honor. Thank you. And Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom to you too, and happy almost Passover. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ah, what a delight, what a joy, what fun we have had with CHARLYNN Boddie. Oh, did I tell you it would be great? Did I tell you she would be so much fun? Did I tell you she would have such great stories and such personality? Not to mention such relentless, almost overbearing love for the Jews and for what we represent and who we are and what we really are. Not what the college kids are saying, not what the assholes who are blocking traffic are saying, but the true Jews who do control everything. This is true. But we do it in a nice way, so you should be grateful.